There we go. Why don't I hear? Oh, because I switched it. Yeah, let's do this. Hello, 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 and welcome everyone to today's show. My name is Anthony Barocas. Oh, wait, I have a button for that. My name is Anthony Barocas. I am the Chief Gearhead here at StreamTek, and we are broadcasting today's live show on multiple channels, including, well, we're not doing LinkedIn today because that gave me an error, but we are doing Twitch and Facebook on the Stream channel, Facebook on my channel, YouTube, and on X. So we are broadcasting on all those different channels, and if you're watching on any of the other channels, you can find all of the streaming technology right here on YouTube at Stream Technology or StreamTek. And then if you are looking for the page, we have a Stream Technology page on Facebook as well. We just created also a new Stream Technology account on Instagram, which I will be broadcasting to next week. Didn't have time to actually get all that set up today and fully locked in and tested before today's show. So once again, if you are new to today's show, I am switching everything through this little numeric Bluetooth keypad here. So when you see that title come up, that's me just tapping this button. And if you see this button come up, that's what I'm doing. And today's show is going to be about, let's go me over. Today, we're talking about vMix HD. And definitely, there are two big contenders in the software live switching solution package, OBS and vMix. They're very comparable. One has a commercial company behind it. The other one is pretty much open source. OBS stands for Open Broadcaster. And a lot of what I talk about today will be applicable to both. I don't use both. I use vMix. And when I got into it, vMix was easier to pick up for me. I tried OBS because it is free. I tried OBS. It was more difficult for me to learn. And I tried vMix and I was more able to pick it up. Different tools for different people. Different people learn differently. Different people work differently. Pick the tool that works for you. vMix HD might not be the right tool for you. It might be, Boinks Mimo Live might be the right tool for you or something like that. So try them out. Find what works the way you think and is fluid for you. So today, I'm going to be talking about vMix HD, and HD is the very basic package available from vMix. So let me go over here, and if you go to the vMix page, which is vmix.com, disclosure, I own the software that I'm going to be talking about. I own both an HD license and a Pro license because sometimes I just need HD and I don't need to bring my Pro big kit. They are not paying me to say this. This is not a paid ad. I am not compensated in any way by vMix or any of the tools that I talk about today, because I'll be talking about several. So this is just unpaid, firsthand use and knowledge that I'm passing along. So that disclosure out of the way, this is the vMix website. It is very comprehensive. One of the very nice things is they do tutorials on everything. And they, being the people who author vMix, do tutorials and everything. Another thing I really like about vMix is there was a time when I was doing a live show and I had many live remote callers into me. And there's a text chat within the vMix remote call system. And the interesting thing was, at the time in that version, the host was trying to text me to go get a particular asset that she wanted up on the screen. And I didn't know that she was trying to message me because that window was off on the second screen and all my inputs and the cameras were all in front of me and I was switching the show. And she was very frustrated, of course. I said, I didn't, I'm not looking over here, I'm looking in front of me. And so I messaged the vMix tech support. They have a whole site just for tech support and feature requests. I said, what we really need is, I need the text thing to make a Windows alert when somebody else sends a message, not when I send a message. I know when I sent a message, I don't need it to make a sound. And they, well, what do you mean? I says, well, I had somebody trying to message me, and because I had it off on a second screen, that didn't happen. A week later, I got a message saying, "We think you'll like the next update." And that is just another one of the reasons I liked about vMix, is that there are dedicated people that I can reach out to. And if your idea or suggestion they feel, has enough merit and is easy enough to implement fairly quickly, it can actually come to fruition fairly quickly. So that is a personal story of using it, having an issue, and having it solved within 2 weeks. So that is something. Don't go to sleep on me. So over here, they're on vMix 27. The HD version I have is not on 27. I think it's on 26. And over here, when you go to purchase, you'll see a comparison table. And down here, you'll see here's basic HD. And the basic HD, I should move this laptop over here so it's on my right hand. The basic HD is $60 US dollars, and that's a one-time fee. You pay it, you're done. $60 done. You could use it for 5 years. You could use it for 6 years, and it's $10 a year. Pennies a month. And that's one of the nice things, is it's a purchase. Now, that purchase gives you any updates they make in a year since you buy it. And then after that, if you want to get, like just say 27 comes out or 28 comes out, and says, oh my God, now the new version has a direct integration with Zoom. I need that feature. You can pay $50 and then you're going to get all the updates for another year. It's not technically you could look at it as a $50 a year subscription. You could kind of look at it as that, but you don't have to pay it in order for the app to keep working. You are literally buying the app. It's yours. You can use it as long as you want at the version that you bought it at and whatever updates come out at that time, and you're good. So one of the key visions is, you see, you get the free updates for first 12 months. Total inputs on this very basic version is 4. If you go up to the $350 one, you get 1,000. At this point, you would say, why would I ever need 1,000 inputs? And that's just because of the way that vMix works, is that any element in your project is an input. A still image is an input. A title is an input. Those are all inputs. That's just what it calls it. So the very basic version, so that you can see how it works, get into it. Does this work for you? Does it solve your problem? It's very, very basic, limited to just 4 inputs. But sometimes if you need a camera, a PowerPoint, a multi-view, and that's all you want to do is switch between those 3 things, this is literally all you need. I actually use vMix HD on, let's go here, on this Microsoft Surface Go tablet. If you've ever seen any of my shows that are about Instagram, Instagram is vertical, but there's no vertical HD ISO specs, so it comes out horizontal. And then I would feed it into this laptop running HD. I would take that source, rotate it, stick it off to the side, put a background behind it, and then output it into this show that I'm doing here as another input. So I'm running vMix HD to do that simple task on a lightweight Windows Surface tablet. Again, this is the Go. 8 megabytes of RAM. Now, I'm not doing today's demo on the go because I plan on having 4 inputs. I plan on trying NDI and much harder things than 8 megabytes on a Surface, when you consider that Windows is using some of it, is not enough RAM. So don't think that you're going to run a big show on the go. You may be able to do it on the Pro with 16 megabytes of RAM. But I just want to indicate that it will run on lightweight hardware because you're not asking a lot of the Surface with those minimal type inputs. Again, let me just repeat that. If you have any questions, throw them into the comments, because as we go along, if you have a question about a particular feature or something that I'm going to talk about, that's the proper time to put in. You're here, I'm here, this is a live show, and if you're investing the time to be here when it's happening live, hey, you get that added benefit. And as always, I like to know where everyone is watching from. I talked about the OBS at the beginning. And again, I am not an expert on OBS. I will not be doing a show on OBS because there are plenty of other people who do have videos on OBS, and they're good videos. And I am not expert enough in the application to give a valuable show on OBS. So I'm just being upfront. The reason I'm not doing OBS is not because I don't like OBS, it's because I don't know OBS. It's impossible for one person to know everything. But if you have, like I said, if you have any streaming questions about vMix or other streaming questions related to it, throw them in the comments because you're here, I'm here, and I appreciate you being here. Caleb is watching from Nigeria. Thank you for being there. How do you say welcome in, I guess, Nigerian? Let me know. Always trying to learn. So let us continue along. We have one overlay channel. In the other versions, you can have 4 overlay channels. It only does HD. It does recording. It does streaming, including 3 simultaneous live streams. Now, that is something I was actually surprised to find, is that even the HD version will let you send 3 streams. And we'll delve into that and see if it actually is 3 different bandwidths and codecs and everything, or if it's like one setting to go to 3 destinations. But I think it's the latter because I've used it for multiple destination streaming, and each one you can set a different bit rate. Full screen output is good. External output. So if you have hardware to output your program, you can actually send your program out hardware for iMag and things like that. You have the GT, which is their titles. The standard is included. The advanced is not. You have a playlist function, which is great for music. You can put like a bunch of things in a row or a bunch of videos in a row and then just tick, 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 or randomize and things like that. You have professional color correction built into the input. So if you get 2 cameras that don't quite match, somebody says, oh, I want to use a PTZ in my GoPro. Okay. And the black levels don't match. The GoPro is a little, like the blacks are a little gray. You can drag them down so they both have nice contrast. Video list, nope. vMix call, nope. Multi-quarter is a great function so that if you have all these inputs coming in, 4 cameras, and you want to basically ISO record them, there's actually a multi-quarter function. You click one button and it just takes whatever comes in and just records it straight. It doesn't really mess with it. 4 external outputs, you can see those are on the higher levels. Scripting, PTZ control, SRT outputs. You actually get SRT with the basic HD. I'm not going to delve into that. Vertical HD, nope. And zoom integration, nope. So you see they've added that zoom integration right down there at the bottom of the list. So yes, you do not get the zoom integration with the HD version. But again, you pay $50 and it's yours. You're done. You paid once, you could use it for the next 4 years. But in addition to that, they also have over here this max license. So if you're doing a job and all of a sudden, you know vMix, you're comfortable with vMix, and then you have this job where it's like, oh my goodness, I need 6 cameras and 50 titles and video playbacks and pre-show and post-show and breaks and all this stuff. You can actually upgrade for that month for $50. That is what over here, $50 per month. You can upgrade to what they call Max, which is the Pro. So you get everything. As big a machine as you put this on, it will utilize everything that machine has. Speaking of machine, let me talk about what I'm going to be using today. I have an HP Omen that I purchased from Micro Center, my money, for a job that I did in the area. And this was a demo model. I bought it for $500. So it has an i7, it has a GTX 2060, 2080 or something like that. And so it has a separate GPU. It has i7 10th gen. So it's basically gaming. It's a gaming machine. And when you're looking for a machine, a gaming laptop, a gaming desktop, I have Intel Nooks, the little next unit computing, but the gaming versions, the Raptor Canyon and things like that. Those are what I use. You can get a, like I said, I did use this I have used this, and I've used it with, here it is, this USB-C adapter because I need to get video into it and out of it. So it's only got one USB-C, and with this, I'm able to take my video out, which goes into my show here, and the video in is captured with this little HDMI capture device. So I capture one signal and I send out one signal. I capture it, do a whole bunch of stuff to it, and then send out the signal. And that's what this little thing does. The advantage with a laptop or a desktop is ports. You get lots of ports. You want to record to an SD card? You know, you can actually do multiple records. I think you can do multiple records. It says record. Okay, no, 2 recorders happens with the 4K version. Good thing I left that up. You can record internally and then quickly dump it off for your client onto an SD card because the SD card reader is built in. And then there's an HDMI port for additional monitor. There's this display port for additional monitors. So I can have 2 more monitors and spread things out. Have all my previews over here, my switch over here, my program over here on a nice calibrated, you know, video display, as opposed to a computer monitor because the color space is a little different sometimes. I have USB, 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 and this is Lightning or Thunderbolt, which is also USB. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 USBs. I have a built-in Ethernet because you really don't want to use Wi-Fi if you're going to be doing streaming. So a built-in Ethernet port, and I think that's everything. Oh, headphone jack. I have a headphone jack. And it's got a built-in camera, so if you just need to test something real quick, you can, you know, do the built-in camera. And this is going to be the workhorse for today. It's an okay machine. You know, I actually had a ROG laptop, 17-inch that was I really liked working on, but that was 8th gen. I upgraded to the 10th gen, a newer newer GPU with this one. I also went a little smaller with this because it's easier to pack, but I needed to have the ports, and Thunderbolt was one of the key requirements for me in terms of doing this. You need to consider what your workload is going to be. Am I going to be ingesting a bunch of Mevo Start cameras or Tail Air over NDI? Then you don't need the ports so much. You're going to need a good Ethernet port, but you're not going to need all the USB and other stuff. You'll probably not need Thunderbolt. If you're going to be doing PTZ cameras and stuff like that, you know, over NDI, again, it's all going to be coming in over the network. You're going to need a good, you know, gigabit NIC on here, a network interface card, and that will, you know, get you pretty much everything. Now, you'll find some of the smaller ones, you can get a 13-inch, but they might get rid of the Ethernet port, or if you're working on a Mac or whatever, but they don't have Ethernet ports. So I find a dedicated Ethernet port for me is one of the must-haves. I really like having an SD card because I always need to ingest media or output media very quickly. And then for me, the Thunderbolt port is very important because I have leveraged, this is also mine. This is the Osee IO 4K. They have different capture devices. This one I actually purchased, again, used, and it's a little bit more than I need because I never import 4K. This is designed to import quad SDI as 4K, which I never do, but it gives me 4 SDI inputs. So if I put it into HD mode, I have 4 SDI inputs, and I have used that. It also has an SDI output. It also has timecode and reference input, so I can genlock it if I'm working in someone else's studio. I can genlock my output to their system. So there's a lot of capability in this. It has HDMI in and HDMI out. So HDMI, like a laptop with PowerPoint, can be one of my inputs as well as 3 other SDIs. I can have HDMI, and there's both an HDMI and an SDI. Now it sounds like 4 SDIs plus an HDMI and then an HDMI out and an SDI out. Wow, that's a lot, except there's only 4 paths in this device. And once you understand that, it's easier to work with. There's 4 paths. So if you're taking an HDMI in, that's 1 path. If the client wants an SDI out, that's 2 paths. I have 2 more. You know, so you count down. Every input and every output is a path through the device, and it can only do 4. But that's 4 capture and 2 output cards in one powered box, and I can mix and match and change them however I want. With the, I didn't put it on this one, I put it on the other one, with the caveats that HDMI is always path 1. So just certain AJA idiosyncrasies. But that is an example of one of the type of things you can do. Other people will take the Thunderbolt and go to an external PCI enclosure, and then you can have an 8-channel card in there and pass all that over Thunderbolt 4. That would really be cool. So the Thunderbolt gives you a lot of flexibility in that it's a PCI extension, and you can put whatever you want in that external box, whether it be more USB I/O, whether it be SDI or HDMI. You can customize it to what you need, and it's not limited to what's in your laptop or your PC. If you go with a desktop unit, then you can just put the cards inside, and all this built-inness is even increased further, because as you can see, this is not in my laptop. I have to bring that extra. But that is the Thunderbolt for me, is the avenue to when I need that, I have it available. If I don't need that, like I'm just working with HD today, then I don't need to bring that, and it's an unused higher level, higher tier service that I can offer. Again, if you have any questions, throw them into the comments. So we're going to continue. We're going to start diving into the software. I appreciate you all being here. Caleb is watching from Nigeria, and let me know where everybody's watching from today. Once again, if you are late to the show, I am I am talking about vMix HD, which again is the most basic version of vMix that's available on their site. It's $60, one-time fee. It's yours for as long as you want to use it. Now, let us go to, let's go to the, not that laptop, this laptop. So this is the output of the laptop, and I'm just going to click on the vMix icon on the bottom here. 24. So you can see this one's a couple versions behind, but like I said, it does what I need it to do, and I haven't seen the need to upgrade it because I'm not doing everything that could be done with it. The thing that's a little daunting when vMix opens is it's like opening a word processor document. There's nothing here. Where are my inputs? Where are my cameras? What do I do? And same with OBS. When you first open OBS, it's a blank slate. It's very different than opening a TriCaster. I should do a show on the TriCaster, which I also own. This can be very daunting, and it was daunting to me when I first opened it. I was like, I have no idea what to do. So you start watching the tutorials, and you start getting a little bit familiar with the interface. These are your inputs down here on the left. This is where you set them to be something. Here's your record button, your outputs button, your stream. Here's the multi-quarter I mentioned, and there's your playlist function. Over here's your audio mixer area. These are all just part of the Windows interface, and you can, change that a little bit. On the left is your preview. Over here is your program. They have colors. You can pick the colors and everything. If you don't like the size of those windows, you can actually drag this, or if you have more inputs, you can drag this higher, make them smaller, make more room for your inputs. But again, we are working with the HD version today, so 4 inputs. It's all we get. And that means there are 4 windows here. That's it. So let us add an input. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click Add Input. It comes up with a window. You can add a video, a DVD, there's a relic, a list, a camera, an NDI or desktop capture. You know what? Let's go grab NDI. It's going to find what's available. And I have a PTZ optics camera, and then I also have the output of the Omen is on. There's my bird dog. Let's see if I can grab the bird dog. Okay. There's the bird dog camera. And it is back a ways from where we are, but I thought that would be useful. You can see the camera that's recording the show is right here. And then I've got another bird dog camera here. I've got a PTZ optics camera in for review right here. And this is the AJA that I just talked about. And that camera is coming across via NDI. So it's not coming in right here. Let us go to, if I go to my camera input, I can click on this and it'll show me I have my HP Wide Vision HD camera, which is the little built-in, NewTek NDI video, USB capture SDI plus, and USB video. That's because I have two different capture things going on right now. I have this little video capture, HDMI, very simple. I've did a video on these, are available now for $10 each, which is insane. But other people have said they're not as good quality as they were a couple years ago. And then back here, I have a Magewell SDI capture card, also coming over USB. Unfortunately, you cannot find these for $10. SDI still seems to be the $100 to $300 realm, and HDMI is available for $10. I don't know why. I really don't know why. And amazingly, you can get Blackmagic's SDI to USB converter for $49, and then for $60, you would have converted SDI to HDMI into the USB capture, but yet they can't make just the SDI capture for less than $100. So let's try the USB video. We'll click on OK. And there we go. That is the output of my playback box up there. So that's playing a little green screen video. It's not playing it very well. Oh, it's not. It's coming in very stuttered. So let me go in here and adjust my settings. Yes. This little capture card, I remember it does not like it. It likes to come in MJPEG. Okay. Select capture device. It doesn't like that? I have used these many times, and I know there's one of these settings that it just works very, very nicely. I thought it was the MJPEG, but hey, and if anybody knows this one, let me know. Crossworks is saying hello from Alabama. RGB 24. I'm sure that's not it. I don't even know what that is. Oh, wait. You know what? Let's select it again. Silly. MJPEG. Go. There we go. I had to reselect the actual input item. So here we go. It's now much smoother because it's in a simpler codec here. You can see it's playing back. Let me scoot this down a little bit. It's playing back. I've got my camera and I've got that going on. And just for the sake of curiosity, I've got the task manager here. The NVIDIA is being used at 3% and my CPU is being used at 20%. So we'll hide that again. So I got those two inputs, but I need a background for this video that's being played. So I am going to add an input. I'm going to add an image from here. My media, backgrounds. Would be nice if I could see them. There we go. That's a nice one. Oh, sorry, that just opened up over my input. Browse. My media. Backgrounds. Really? Oh, it's on video. No. Why is it looking for videos? AVI is not a... AVI WMV? That's weird. It's saying that... These are only video inputs. Cancel. Even though I selected image. Let's try it again. My media. Backgrounds. There they are. So let's just grab that one. Okay. Okay. Now I've got a background. And one of the nice things that I have found with vMix is, oh, sorry, let me give you the, not that one, this one. One of the nice things I have found with vMix is that I can take this background and start layering things. When you do a multi-view, you've got 10 layers. So I can take this, the position of this main thing, I'm going to zoom it in a little bit because it's, there we go. And then I'm going to layer on top of this the number 2. I'm going to add input number 2. So there he is. I'm going to edit his size. I'm actually going to size him down. Not 3, layer 2. So there he is, but you don't green screen him here in number 3. You go over to number 2 and you say color key, use the eyedropper, grab that color. Let's do number 2. There you go. That's obviously heavily compressed stock. You can see the stock logo in there. And I'm not using this for commercial purposes, so I'm just going to let it be. But you can see now I've got him over the background. So you can easily do something like that. And then if you wanted to scoot him to the side, you could actually change the position of 2 and move him left or right, anywhere you want. There's a little bit of black bar at the bottom, so we can scoot this down. I don't have a mouse attached, but one of the really nice things I like about this is if you put your cursor over that item and use the mouse wheel, you can gently scroll that item left. You know, you adjust those parameters very delicately, like cropping the top. There's a black bar at the top, so I can crop the top. Come on. Which is a little harder to do on my trackpad than it would be if I had a mouse. So there you go, ready? And cut, and now that's my output. As I add inputs that have sound, the audio would appear over here to the right. Let's see. Have you ever used Error Hack to see all the options for this capture? I have not. You're a brave man using the trackpad. Yes, the trackpad is not my preferred thing. I do have a Logitech MX mouse that I use and a trackpad that comes standard in my laptop kit because, man, I did have something lately that the trackpad actually works pretty well, but just controlling minute details on a trackpad has always been difficult. So yeah. They've added layer shortcuts for changing stuff. I don't know if they have added it in the HD version, but again, this is an older HD version because just demonstrating the fact that I purchased it years ago and it's still working and I don't have to pay anything more to have it keep working. It's not a subscription. You pay $60 once. I think I paid $50 actually. And it just keeps working. I can see in the crop I've chopped off his head a little bit. So then we want to add a title. So we're going to come over here to add inputs. Continuing down the list, you can bring in a stream or an SDI. You can do an instant replay, which I'm not going to get into because I don't do sports, so I can't speak on instant replay. A video delay, so you can actually push things back. An image, which I just did. A list of photos. So if you have a bunch of photos you want to use in like a carousel, you can do that. PowerPoints can be imported directly. You don't have to have a laptop playing PowerPoint in order to have the PowerPoint and be able to like thumb through the pictures. The thing I have not seen is that it doesn't do builds. So if you have PowerPoint with a bunch of spinning lines and each line does a little effect as it comes in, I don't think the PowerPoint in vMix does that. But if someone sees it differently in the later versions, feel free to correct me in the comments. You can add a color background. This is sort of like the default if you want to have just a base layer to start building stuff on top of. I usually start with a color background. And the color background can actually be transparent. So right there it says it can be transparent. So you can just do a bunch of clear things and then use that as an overlay for something else. You can bring in just audio, like an audio. This is audio clips, like an MP3 or WAV, or an audio input, which would be like this can bring in a bunch of audio as well. So you can bring in just audio, or if you have a USB audio interface, this will work with that. So you could have something that does 8 channels of audio individually and then bring that audio interface in and you'll have all those audio interfaces. A title, it's got a built-in titler. So let's just see, if pick something. That one looks nice. There we go. Headline. And then has description text. Chief Gearhead. And then of course you can change the color, the size, the timing. You can connect these to data sources. So if you have an XML spreadsheet, you can then just, be able to like tick, 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 go through, which is great for graduations and things like that. You can add, it has a built-in clocks and other things down there. So we'll put this down here. And now you see my titles down here as input 4. And if I go over here and say, oh, you know what I want to do? I want to add something, another camera from that SDI source. There you go. And we say, okay, nope, the input limit has been reached. So I'm just demonstrating to you that this is indeed HD. You have 4 inputs. Very, very basic. But many times 4 can kind of get you to where you need to go. So we close this. 4 means not 5. But here you go. I've got 1 channel of overlay. So I'm going to hit that. It's going to fade in. You see how it actually is animated. And it moves out. Brings in and goes out. You can, up here, you can do a cut, a fade to black. One of the cool features that this does have is it has a merge. So if I had something where I had, let's do this. He's going to talk about me on, let's put me back a little bit. I'm going to put that right there. And I'm going to shrink that down. So he's going to be talking about this input. I'm going to move it over here. See, he's talking about that. And then I'm going to put a border on it. There you go. So now he's talking about, yeah, see this over here? But I want to go from that multi-view to just me. If I click merge, it does that cool TV effect, to go between them. It's not just cutting, it's not just fading, it's actually moving, it's dynamic. You see that a lot in multi-box displays on TV today. So if one person's talking, they want to bring in someone over that'll move, and then it'll move back and recover. That is built into this. So you can, hey, look at that. I'm talking about my PowerPoint. And then you go to the PowerPoint full screen. What he was talking about, his audio still goes on. And then you come back here and there he's still talking. That is built in here. And then even while you're doing that, I've got my background, my camera, my overlay. I got all 3 of those layers. And then I can bring in my 4th layer. So it can be an event. And like I said, those are your 4 inputs. But those 4 inputs can be anything, and they can be layered over top of each other. But you just can't add more than 4. Even if I just wanted to add, I just want another title. If I could just do another title, that would be so good. Nope. No titles. But if all you're doing is a person, a camera on a person PowerPoint, person with PowerPoint, and an event title, Or that could just be a pre-show, post-show slide. You know, this is the event. You can have that pre-stream, go to the camera, go to the two-shot, go to the slide, go to the two-shot. You know, they're finishing up, go back to the camera, go to the slide. You're done. Plus, you can even change out the slide, because while you're watching a video or the PowerPoint or something like that, you can come over to what would be your graphic and just go get a different graphic. Over here in your mixer, you have the ability on your audio. Every audio channel has the ability to adjust the gain. You can add plugins for noise reduction and things like that. You've got an EQ, you've got a compressor, you've got a noise gate. You can decide what channel it goes to. In this version, it doesn't matter so much because you've only got main program. You're not going to be doing, actually, I don't even know if you can do extra buses. Let's check, because I don't see that mentioned in the list. Let's go into the settings and go to audio. Oh, wow. Let's enable. Let's enable. Let's enable. Now, enabling additional audio buses in here is going to say we're going to need to reboot. Yes, reboot. And it goes really fast. And it comes right back. So there we go. But now all of a sudden you can see I've got my audio input, but I've got multiple audio buses. I have my master bus. But if I wanted to have something, you know, if I had a remote guest coming in and I wanted to be able to talk to that remote guest, I could bring my audio in, send it just to a bus that they listen to, but is not part of program. And I have a video on this on the StreamTek channel about, you know, handling remote guests. And you can come into this and say, oh, I want this to go to bus A and bus B. And actually, if you double click on it, there's C and D. Don't know, they could have just put that on the right-hand side, but I don't design it. And then it has, you can solo any channel, which will go to your headphones. Your headphone volume is different than your program volume, so you can listen to a different program than what's going out master. So it is really like a real audio mixer in that you can, oh, I'm hearing a buzz. What channel is that coming in on? Let me solo each one. And it can audio follows video. And then this just means the channel is on or off. And then when you send it to A and B, your A and B bus is here, but then you can still determine what goes to master. So you can send multiple buses to master or not. And I think in later versions, I don't think I get to name the buses in this version. Oh, I do. For show, close, yes. Used to be you couldn't name these. That was a problem. And then return feed, close. And I don't think you get remote guests with this. I think we covered that. vMix call. Yes, there is no vMix call with the basic HD version. But once you upgrade, having those multiple buses over there on the right really does come in handy in terms of managing all the people on calls versus all your other audio, and then a return feed as well. Because I can talk into the system and I want them to hear me talking, but I don't want to hear me talking. So I need to have a bus B, that's just for them, that has my voice. But then bus C is all the people remote without my voice that's going to be going into the main program. It gets complicated. A couple questions come in. I used to get correct, and this sounds nitpicky. Is this vMix basic 3+1 input 3 camera or NDI? According to the website itself, this is vMix Basic HD. So you have 4 inputs. It doesn't say this. It doesn't say it's a limit on NDI. So as far as I can tell, you could bring in 4 NDI. We can test that. But 3+1 inputs. 3 camera or NDI. We could try to see if we get 4 inputs, 4 full inputs in it. Come over here. Never thought about the buses. Yeah, the audio buses are huge. And the fact that there's no limitation on audio buses in the basic HD version, it's sort of overkill because the places where you would really want to use them, especially with remote guests, aren't present in the basic HD version. So I guess they're giving you this capability. You're just really not going to be able to make use of it as much because it doesn't have all the other features that the higher end versions of the app have. You can use case for buses would be VST, FX like telephone or reverb, etc. You can apply those on, yeah, technically you can send inputs, but again, I think each audio input or playlist is going to be an input. So you're limited to 4 inputs. So if I go to add an audio input or an audio clip, it's still going to tell me, nope, I got no more inputs, 4 inputs. So you would need to step up a little bit to get that. Or, like I says, if you just need to do 2 things, then you could use the other 2 for other things. Or if you have an external switch, like an ATEM Mini with 4 inputs, you can use that to switch cameras. And then you could use this for overlays, pre-show music, playlist, graphics, and you can also do social as well, because I did not see any limitation on social. View shortcuts. You can integrate all the different social destinations where you could be streaming, because like we said at the beginning, this will stream to 3 destinations. So you can then be pulling from those 3 destinations comments and bring them into the show as part of the show. But again, that social overlay is probably going to be one of your inputs. So pushing your camera switch to an external device allows you to do more in vMix HD. You can put VST on audio buses. Yes, you can put plugins on audio buses. Well, yeah, I believe you can. Let's check. I know you can put them on inputs. Can you put them? Yes, you can put that. You can put plugins on the buses themselves. So you can have multiple inputs. Again, it's only limited to 4 inputs. But you can put it on a bus as well. Close. So that way, if you had on a higher end version, if you had 8 audio inputs come in, which you can't have here, then you could have one VST plugin apply to all of those inputs, like a noise gate, as opposed to setting a noise gate on each of the microphones coming in. You could just put all of those microphones into one of your subs here, and then apply your noise gate here and say, here's your noise gate, apply it to all the microphones, done. Super easy. And if you need to adjust it, then you can adjust one place as opposed to several places. So remember, camera NDI inputs 3. Where does it say that? Oh, I see. Total inputs 4. Okay. Small detail, but thank you for pointing that out. This is how you get the FX on your voice or music, etc. Yep. Yep. Because there's no reverb or anything, just EQ. Let's go back through that again. You can do plugins. It'll do EQ, compressor, and noise gate are built in. Other than that, like noise reduction is not available inside vMix. And just for curiosity, now that I've got multiple inputs on the screen playing at the same time, as well as a background, a green screen, and an overlay, on this machine, I am at 20% of the GPU, 5% of the 5% of the GPU, 30% of the CPU. So 20% peaking to 30. And it's using Ethernet because of the NDI source over there. And apparently using Wi-Fi too, although I don't know why. Not using the disk, only using 5 gigabytes of the memory. So I don't know why it was so memory constrained on the Surface. It seems to be running very lightly in here. And on your inputs, the thing I didn't cover so much is, you come over here, you have general controls. You can, do a basic sharpen, automatically play with the transition, you can settings. You can change your settings for the input, your audio settings. You can create a virtual input. Ooh, let's try that. Haha. I am limited to 4, but maybe not. Let's try this. Create virtual input. No, it's not letting me do it. I thought that might be a workaround. Nope, not let me do it. So I'm going to close this, close my virtuals. What that lets you do is, what that lets you do is it lets you take, let's just say you have a 4K input, which again, this is not a 4K version. It lets you bring in a 4K input, and then you could chop it up into a wide, close, and close, and all from one input, and you can have virtual inputs on the screen. That's what those are. Close that. Yes. So I've got my 4 inputs, my buses. I was going to do some color correction because it says it allows you color correction. You've got some basic color correction, and I think the white balance is actually really good here, auto white balance. But what you're really going to do, we showed you the color key built in. There's also a Luma key, but the color correction is actually quite nice in that you've got your darks, mids, and whites color correction for each, as well as I don't do color correction, so my terminology is going to be very wrong. You can lift them or bring them down. So if I think the whites are a little too bright, I can bring that down. If I think the mids are a little dark, I can bring the mids up. I can shove the color around. Oh my goodness, that's totally wrong. Hit the reset button. Just overall increase in saturation, overall increase in hue, and hit the total reset button. And then I can turn that on and off right here. So color bars, color wheels. I like the color wheels. Some people like to work with individual bars. That plus your positioning for all 10 layers. What layers you're going to be adding. Now, obviously you can see this is a feature. Say, oh, look, you can, mess around with 10 layers. You can't actually add 10 layers in the basic version. So, you're not going to be, messing around with this. But when you get to other things, I have done, like you want to have this picture and that picture and this picture and that picture and a logo and a thing. You can build all that as one big scene and then do a merge from that to something else. And that lets you really get complex in your scene building. Again, still, vMix calls them inputs. Triggers, there's no limit on triggers as far as I can tell. You can have this set so that on the completion of a video, your pre-show video, it'll automatically cut to camera 1 and automatically bring up the microphone, and automatically, after a delay of so many seconds, bring up the graphic for the show. And then after so many more seconds, fade out the graphic. You can build all of those as triggers in here. Tally lights. Actually, the tally light on the NDI camera is red, so that is working properly. Your PTZ controls. Let's try it. Let's connect. PTZ is not available in this edition of vMix. And advanced. There's like I said, you can delay the video so many frames. And there's other things you can do down here, but I'm not going to get too deep into the woods. Again, this is meant to be a very basic HD version for people who need to affect 1 or 2 inputs with a title or something. So at that level, you're not going to be getting into deep scripting for this app. I'll catch the rest of this after work. Thanks again. Great to have you, Bill. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for making this video. You're welcome. Rick also asks, let's go back to here. This is what I wanted the quad box 4-to-1 HDMI, then reuse 4 times in vMix layers. Using layers the way you described as virtual inputs. Yep. 2 quad boxes is 8 inputs. Yes. Technically, yes, you could do that, but then of course you have a higher end version of this, like the 4K version, to be able to ingest, which is going to cost you $700. Then ingesting 4K directly is going to cost you a little bit as well. So, but that would give you 8 inputs, 8 HD videos from 2 4K inputs. That would work. It would be actually pretty neat to take a quad input box to a 4K capture and throw that down at stage and send one HDMI, one fiber HDMI all the way back from stage, so that you have 4 different HD captures over one cable, you know, like a quad snake. Probably without, although there is some processing in the quad split, probably without as much delay as 4 NDIs coming across a switch in a single Ethernet cable. So I don't know. That's a good question. Which would be faster? Which would have less latency from the stage back to house? I just did an event where we had to run multiple cables from outside the building, inside the building, and I do retro gaming. So SD quality is no worries. Oh, wow. I wonder if there is a, because I think you can put 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 standard def squares, 640 by 480, in one HD 1080p screen. And that way you'd get 6 screens. It'd be pretty cool. But I don't, you'd almost need a vMix at that end to be able to do it, process it properly. That would be very interesting. Let's getting back to vMix. Turn that off. Down here at the bottom, over here on the left, we went through the inputs. When you record is the next tab. You can decide whether you want to record it as an AVI, Windows Movie, MP4, FFmpeg, vMix AVI. This one is kind of special in that the vMix AVI uses less horsepower. So if I was doing this on my Surface, that's probably what I would use. Also, it's, I don't know how to say this, it's a complete file as it writes. What that means is if your computer were to crash, or you're on a desktop machine and the power goes down and you don't have a UPS, that file is complete as it's writing it. Whereas if you're going to write an MP4 file or an AVI file like that, those are not finished files. Normally, after, when you say stop recording, it has to put a wrapper on it, say this is an MP4 file with this type of setting, it is this many frames a second, it is this long, the audio has this code, it has this table of contents it has to put at the beginning. And if it doesn't have that, then Windows says, I don't know what that is, if it even sees it at all. So that's where this vMix AVI comes into play, that in the forums they say, this is what you want to use if you're in a situation where you don't have a battery backup, which is actually one of the reasons I actually like using a laptop, in that if the power goes down, my laptop is still running. My external input output may go, my, everything else, my power, boom, my power is gone. Oh no, well, let me save my file, stop the record, stop the stream, do all that. Let me plug it back in. I have that time because it has a built-in UPS. One of the nice things I like about having a laptop. But with that vMix AVI, that's sort of like an extra feature, an extra safeguard, so that if something were to happen, it's complete as it's writing it. So when you're, let's just say MP4, here's where you can say what size do I want it recorded at, what's the frame rate I want it recorded at, what's the bit rate I want it recorded at, and then what audio do I want, audio from the buses, so I can do ISOs here. Again though, this one only does Oh, it does recording, but it doesn't have two recorders, and it does not have the multi-quarter. So you're pretty much going to use the master at this point. Audio bit rate and stuff like that. Come down here, say okay. Yes, 4K is not, so I didn't change it. Let's go up and change it. 1920 by 1080. Okay. And when you do that, now you get a recording channel so you can see what the audio level is in the recording. Your external outputs, I'm just clicking on the gear icon. You can adjust your SRT. I have one output. I have NDI on, which is why when I looked at NDI sources, it actually saw my own laptop. You can turn that off. My display settings, this is where I can change my colors you see at the top of the screen. This is the settings, the general settings. If you want to do PAL or NTSC or 2397, your output size, I think this also does, I think it said it didn't do vertical, but the other versions do. Oh, no, wait. Normal, widescreen, or anamorphic. Interesting. Outputs, not a whole lot going on here, but this is where if you had a hardware output, you do have one output, you could then choose your hardware output device here and change your settings for that. And it would leverage either the hardware device's ability to encode, like if you want to do your show at 60, but you wanted to output 30, or if you want to do your 30, want to output 60 for a LED screen or something like that, that difference in setting would mean that the hardware would need to re-encode the video. You have various options. These are different startup options. Performance, I don't even have high performance mode selected. I should turn that on. Decoders, recording, external output. This is where I'm saying if you use the external renderer if it was available. Your audio says there's a lot of these are just basic general preferences that you set depending on how you want to work. Some people like to just tap the inputs down the bottom and cut them right into the show. You can do that. Other people want to do preview program. You can do that. Audio outputs. This is where I added the extra buses. Web controller. We'll get into that in a second. Shortcuts. This is where it actually pulled shortcuts from when I had them set up for another show. But if you have an Elgato StreamTek or anything else, I just did a show where the keyboard doesn't do anything. Your computer keyboard doesn't do anything in vMix while you're actually in the show part. Let me close this. You know, you could type on the keyboard. It doesn't do anything. So what I did was I assigned my function keys 1, 2, 3, and 4 to be the 4 camera inputs and the space bar to be cut. So I was able to go 1 cut, 2 cut, 1 cut, 3 cut, you know, and be able to do the show that way without having to like move my cursor around on the screen. So I used the keyboard of the computer as a control surface, or if you had a numeric keypad, you could use the numeric keypad, you know, use the numbers at the top and hit the enter key as your control surface. The Asus ROG that I had actually had a whole bunch of like teeny little labels on here where I had used almost the entire left-hand side of the keyboard as a control surface for doing a show and programmed it all to be done right on the keyboard itself. Because as I said, once you're in the app, the keyboard doesn't have any effect. Well, now it does because it's programmed in to the shortcuts, which are also accessible over here. And then you can edit them, which takes us right back to here. Different activators. I don't use activators. Alerts and about. vMix Basic HD. Don't look at my model number. Cancel. And that is the external inputs. Here's your stream. Now it says you can do 3 different outputs. There are some presets in here. So if you're doing YouTube live stream now or YouTube live, you can pick a YouTube and it kind of knows. And then it says put in the stream key and then what settings you want to use at the bottom, whether it be 1080 or 720p, Facebook. You know, there's a ton of presets in here. You can then, if you don't like those, you can come in here and dial in your stuff. Oh, sorry. Let me do that again, cancel. The stream settings right here, you have your 3 at the top. So you can pick 1, 2, and 3. So I'm activating 1. I can send that to YouTube, and then I come over here to 2. I'm going to send 2 to Twitch, and then number 3, I'm going to send to Twitter. Still calls it Twitter because it's an old version. And then you can go into the settings, set your output, and it will do 3 different encodes on this machine and send 3 different streams. There's no multicasting built into this, like some all-in-one machines have. So if you are sending 3 streams at 3 megabits a second, then that's 3, 6, 9, basically 10 megabits. And I always like to recommend at least double. So you would need to make sure that you had at least 20 megabits up from this machine to get those individual streams reliably out the door. And we're going to say none. I'm just going to turn these off. 2, we're going to say none. But you can do 3 different streams out from here, save and close. Here's your multi-quarter. vMix AVI. Supposedly this doesn't have a multi-quarter, but let's try it. Where's it going? Change recording folder. Let's put it right on the desktop. Select folder. Start. Nope. I thought the error that it's not available would come up when you actually call, when you click on the gear button, but the multi-quarter is not available in this edition of vMix. So, but this is a demonstration that if you had 8 different inputs, you'd say record this, 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 this. This is where I want them all to go. So it's like having an ATEM Mini Extreme ISO and just being able to ISO all your inputs and save them into a folder, as well as having your master program, which, let me close this. Your record settings for your master record are separate than the multi-quarter. So they're in 2 different places. And then of course there's a playlist so that you can create a playlist of videos or things like that. Another comment came in. How many NDI output? There's only 1 output in the basic HD, and you can turn NDI on for that output, but you cannot cause NDI for your inputs, only on the output. So when you go to your external output settings right here, you can see, you can see right here, my output NDI is on. Now, technically, my output, I can choose, oh, I just want you to ISO input 1 and put that on NDI. You could do that. Okay. I'm not going to restart. And then for the record, you're recording the output, the main output. So that same output goes to both places, but you're not able to oh no, wait, let me think. This is recording. Yes. If you set the output here to be an ISO of input 1, then that is what's going to be recorded as your master as well. Your full screen output up here is different. Like if I had a second monitor connected, that's what this is up here. And I can say, oh, you know what? I want to look at the multi-view on the full screen where I just see all my inputs. Not terribly useful in the HD version, but it's still there if you wanted to do that. You could technically use that as a ISO of just the slides, so you can bring the slides into your laptop, send the full screen, the second output of just the slides to the screen in the room, so it's passing through you before it goes to the room, so you have it to switch for the stream, and it's also available in the room. And then technically you can use this and some triggers to switch the output of what that is. So you could switch your full screen output, number 2, to be program or slides, or close-up camera or slides, or camera or slides, and then that's independent of you switching the output of the live show, which would also have a picture-in-picture and a pre-show graphic and things like that. So you could kind of get 2 switchers out of it, maybe. Let's close that. I think every option in vMix is 2 presses away. Based on what I call a heads-up display GUI. This is the hardest thing for most new users. There are no nested menus. That and some of the interface is a little wonky. It's got very basic windows in it. All cameras and audio can have NDI checkbox down below the screen you just showed. All cameras? Let's open that back up. Ah, I see what you're saying. Additional NBI. Let's turn that on. You are correct. You can actually turn those on. Let's show everyone what that is. He was saying additional NDI outputs. You can turn these on. I thought that would be disabled. I didn't even click on them. But you are correct. You can turn those on right there. Okay. You are correct. Is it possible to do one conference event with vMix and NDI? Depends on how many cameras you wanted to have at the conference. I think so. You know, if you just had 2 cameras, you know, a close on the podium and a wide of the whole thing to cover any movement you needed for the close camera, and then you've got 2 more inputs. One for whatever's shown on the screen, like PowerPoints or things like that. And then you've got 1 more input that you can use for something else, which could be your audio input from house audio. Because remember, that's an input. So your audio input from house audio could either go into your camera or either of your cameras, or it could come in as a separate input by itself. Generally, I like to run them in with the camera so they have the same delay, the same processing delay, and they match all the way through. But if you needed more than those 4 inputs, the answer is no. So 3 NDI if you use camera inputs plus master out plus audio input, your 4th input. What is conference? I don't understand the question. Yeah, it depends on the conference that you are working on. You know, I've done conferences where we've, you know, really loaded up on cameras. You know, we would have 5, 6 cameras at a conference because they wanted to have, you know, a dedicated camera on the moderator. We have 2 cameras hunting and pecking for the responses from the guests. We have a camera on the audience. We have a wide camera we can always fall back to. Well, right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're at 5 cameras and 5 inputs, and we haven't done anything else. So that's fairly typical, or at least 2 from the back of house, 1 wide, always available to cut to, and then a close-up camera operated to pick out whoever's talking. So here's the moderator, asks a question, cut to wide, swing over to the answer, you know, cut to the answer, you know, oh, he's going to start a new question, cut to the wide, swing over, get that one. So you got to have 2 to kind of cover. Otherwise, if you only have the 1 camera, then you have to like slowly go to the question, come out, you know, go to the answer, or you just don't move it at all. But that's not a very interesting view for the audience. If, you know, you're really hard pressed, that's better than no stream at all. You know, the viewer can see and hear what's happening on the stage. They just can't see and hear it they can't see it very well. But audio is very, very important to a live stream. Since I've been running the Facebook group on vMix, I think that's vMix, is B next to M? No. A lot of these things have been discussed. I am not that smart. Yes, vMix HD is a great little app. vMix is a great app, and the fact that there's an HD version introduces it to people who are not going to pony up the $1,200 for the Pro version. And it seems like a lot, but again, you pay it once, you're done. It's not a subscription. And if you have it for 4 years, 3 times 4 is 12. So now it's $300 a year. Well, that's less than the cost of Adobe Premiere. So And this is a live streaming tool that will handle pretty much anything you throw at it and has a very active community, just like OBS. I'm not discounting OBS. Again, like I said at the head of the show, vMix and OBS are both very capable tools. It's just that I tried OBS and I had more of a difficulty ramping up, getting my mind wrapped around OBS. And then when I tried vMix, it was still, yeah, you got to learn how to get from the blank slate into making shows. But it was easier and faster for me. It was more the way my mind worked. So I took to it better, and that's the direction I went. And Rick says, one other option is 2 vMix Basic HDs, and you can upgrade later, use the $50 Max as needed. Right. The advantage with 2 Basic is you could use one for 4 inputs. One carries, the output of that carries over to here, so you get, and then 3 more. So then you've got a total of 7 inputs. And with a StreamTek or Companion, which is free, you can use one controller on one machine to control both machines. So you can always line up machine. And when I say go to input 1, it knows to switch this to the sub to that one. It knows to do all that, and you can program that in. So, and that is definitely $120 versus $350. So that definitely gets you there. Although I will say the $350 version, you're not that far off, and you get to 1,000 inputs as opposed to still being limited to 8. You have 1,000 inputs, 4 overlay channels. What are some of the other differences? You have a remote caller come in, and you do have Zoom integration with 1 input available in the higher end HD, not the basic HD, but the $350 HD. But the 1,000 inputs, that I think would be the key thing for me. It's like, you know, at that point, you're not trying to jury rig 2 machines together. It's like once you really get past 4, get past the ultra simple setups, like vMix would be great for somebody like me doing this, because I would use vMix to do, you know, here's my camera, here's my background, overlays. I'm actually doing the overlays in Restream, but you can do all of this in vMix Basic HD. The only thing you couldn't do is switch between the multiple cameras. Like I could do the picture-in-picture, but I'm using my sub switch off to the side to go between this laptop and that laptop and my overhead camera. So technically there's 3 more inputs in addition to this camera and my background. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they inputs add up fast, especially when you start adding titles and backgrounds and audio inputs and audio sources for music and stuff like that. Boom, 50 inputs. And then that 1,000 input license, you know, for that not basic HD really does come into play. And it's still a jump to get the 4K, but the basic HD giving you 1,000 inputs, that's really where I think a lot of people are going to, you know, want to sit. Once they take a look at basic HD, if vMix is a tool that works for them, you know, like I said, different tools feel great for different people. And if vMix is a tool that people gravitate towards, and it says, yeah, I kind of dig how this works. I've watched some of the videos. The tutorial videos are great. The community is really supportive, and I can get my questions answered, and I'm really getting going here. This is the direction I want to keep going in. Then you could sit there and say, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and you know, I've got 3 or 4 things lined up. I'm going to ante up and, you know, get the full HD version for 350. And I don't know if they do upgrades. I think if it was pretty soon after the first one, they would just let you count that 50 towards the 350 and just pay the 300. But that would give you the 1,000 inputs, which is going to be the biggest weight off your back. You're not constrained to just 4 inputs. And I think that's why that is there for the most basic, like I said at the beginning of the show. I use the HD version on my Surface to take an input of a vertical streaming appliance You know, for example, when I talk about the YOLO Live InStream, it's a vertical appliance, but the video comes out 1920 by 1080 sideways. Well, I can't do a demo if everybody's got to rotate their head every time I show it. So this takes one input in, that input, let's do it this way, one input in, and it rotates it, puts it off to the side, and then puts a border on it, puts a background behind, and then sends that to my regular switch, so that when I want to talk about InStream, look, I could just point to it over here. Here's InStream, and it's off to the side. vMix HD is a great tool for that. And because as far as I know, you can't rotate in an ATEM Mini. I can't take an input in an ATEM Mini and then rotate the image and move it off to the side. I can maybe put a background behind it, but I can't do those other things. So it's the software tool for $50 and the very lightweight Microsoft Surface that handles that for me when I do my streaming shows about the vertical tools. He says, I would put them in a hardware mixer, but I like the daisy chaining. Yeah, you could if hard pressed, but then, you know, you're getting to the point where if you're paying for all of that hardware ingest and you're paying for the 2 licenses, and you're adding so much complexity that it's almost easier to just go with the one machine and put that, you know, you don't have 2 machines. Well, put the cost of that second machine into the $350 for the vMix HD. You can't upgrade anytime, so even my V21 should be upgraded. Yes, you can upgrade. I meant upgrade your license, not the version number. So yes, this is an older version on this laptop, and I could upgrade it anytime as well. I think that pretty much wraps up my demonstration of vMix HD for today. I do appreciate you all being here as I walked through the various settings. I didn't get to everything in it. I wanted to give you an introduction to vMix HD, cover the most salient parts, bringing in inputs, handling some audio, recording your streaming, what inputs you could bring in, and show you some of where you're going to bang against those limitations in vMix HD being just 4 inputs, not the multi-quarter, not this thing and not that thing. Not a remote guest. No, no, and no. But I think that it is a great way, and I completely overstepped one thing. When you go to vMix, they give you, come up at the top here, there is a 60-day free license when you download it. Again, they are not paying for this. This is not sponsored in any way. I am a vMix user. I like the tool, and I feel confident in providing a tutorial, a basic tutorial on vMix. There's a lot of things in vMix Pro that I don't do. I don't do instant replay, but the high-end system will give you 8 channels of instant replay. You know, I don't do a lot of complex scripting and things like that. And there's a lot of things, you know, it does so much that you can specialize. I'm just doing more of this. I'm just doing more sports and instant replay. I'm just doing more corporate stuff, you know, and you're going to use different features of the app, but the app has all of this available to you when you step up into the bigger versions. If you download it from vmix.com, no affiliate link, I get nothing from this. Go there, download it from vmix.com. It is free for 60 days. And it is a free $1,200 pro license version. So again, that one on the far right there, $1,200. There's nothing that is not enabled on the version you get for 60 days. Nothing. It is fully the most powerful version that they make. It is limited only by the hardware you put it on. And if you have a massive gaming PC and, you know, an 8 input output card or 2 of them or whatever, and you want to do 16 channels, it doesn't care. It literally does not care. And if you have a 23 channel audio IO and whatever, you can do all of that for 60 days. You know, see if it works for you, see if it does what it says it will do, see where the limitations are on your machine, see the workflow. Like, I can't figure out how to make this work, and reach out to people and see if you can get it to do what you want it to do. And then after those 60 days, you're going to need to pay. And I bet you after working with Pro for 60 days, you're probably not going to be able to squeeze what you need into the basic HD version. That said, the HD version is out there, and it is a great first start for somebody who wants to get into just pure software. And like I showed at the top of the show, these little capture devices are now $10 on Amazon, so you can get 2 of these. I've got this one and an SDI one back here. I've got NDI coming in, so you could do 3 NDI cameras like the Mevo Start 3-pack. You could do that. It's live switch a show. But remember, with the HD version, with the basic HD version that you've got here, you've got your 3 cameras and 1 other thing. Now, maybe that 1 other thing could be a hardware switch between other stuff. If you already have an old hardware switch or an old A10 Mini, where you get one for cheap, you could then use that to switch hardware cameras or a laptop input or something else, and you add more of your inputs over there. It's all up to you. A little bit about me, the obligatory. If you are watching on any of the other channels, please know that StreamTek on YouTube is where you find everything, including this show. There will be an edited version of the show later on, trimming out some of the I don't knows. There's the StreamTek page. Yes, I manage the page. Go away. And that is where these shows are also posted, as well as you can talk about technology. And there's a StreamTek group if you want to just discuss things as well. Last week's show on AirMix, there's a new group that I created for that. It looks like this. The Curated AirMix group is available for everyone who wants to talk about AirMix, which is, again, is an all-in-one multi-camera live switch software tool that does not do NDI, but it runs on an iPad. So you could do all that on a tablet. You could do it on a phone. It's amazing. Switch multiple inputs, just to inputs and titles and graphics. Just do it all on your phone. They're that powerful these days. Next up, if you are interested in streaming, you can go to streamingmedia.com. Then click on the producer icon. There's a lot of, there's some free newsletters here that you can sign up for, get emails when articles are published, including reviews of gear, like my review of that YC Onion Pinata Peak tripod. Excuse me. And then continuing down the list, if you need consulting, I do consulting. You can go to the contact me page on my website, stream4.us, Stream for Us. And lastly, if you're looking to buy some gear, I have a curated store at the Videoguys where they have the YOLOBUX Pro, they have some PTZ cameras and encoders and stuff. And that wraps up today's show. I do thank you all for being here, and I look forward to seeing you next week. I think next week's show may be about the TriCaster. Since I mentioned it today, let's put that on the docket for next week's show. It'll be very, very, very interesting because it comes so pre-configured that it almost is the antithesis to vMix, but it's not a limitation, because the interface on the TriCaster is so well thought out after being an industry standard for like 20 years at this point, 25 years at this point. And that is another Windows-based but built into hardware software solution for multi-camera live switching. I do appreciate you all being here. My name is Anthony Barocas. I am the Chief Gearhead here at Stream for Us, and I will look forward to seeing you all next week.